Hey guys, this is Jan. Welcome to the first day of the WP Summit. I'm joined today by Jason Cohen. Jason is the founder of WP Engine, the world's biggest web host for managed WordPress hosting. I host my personal blog with them as well, and I'm very satisfied. But Jason is so much more. Jason also is a serial entrepreneur and has written a quite successful book for geeks. So I'm very proud to have you on the show, Jason.
Well, one of the interesting things about keeping a site up and fast is you think about it, you tend to think of it like, oh, I'll have 10,000 people visit in a month or 100,000. That's actually not the difficult part because most of the time is in the middle of the night when there's not many people hitting the site and it doesn't matter where you're hosted, right?
Yeah,
The only thing that matters is peak time.
yeah.
The most hits that you get in the month, that's what matters. And so you have to tune your site to handle that time. So it could be that on the first day of the summit that you do get 10 hits per second in a second. And that's the second you don't want the site to fail because that's exactly when people are the most interested, right? That's actually the
Yeah.
worst time. And yet you have to build for that. And so, of course, the wrong thing is to say, oh, I'll throw more hardware at it or something. I'll sort of overpay for that because sort of by definition, you're paying for a lot of horsepower, which you need almost never, except when you
Yeah.
do need it, you really need it, right? So that's where not just WP Engine, but a lot of the managed WordPress hosts are helpful because you can be on a server with a few other customers. You don't want to be on a lot of a server with a lot of other customers, like with the shared host, where you could be on a server with 2,000 other people, and then it's just very noisy, right?
Yeah.
And you're competing with them. But if you're on the same server with just a few other people who, like you, get very little traffic, but sometimes need to burst and get a lot of traffic, then that's actually a really good balance of spending enough money to be able to handle those traffic spikes when you're fortunate enough to get it, but not having to overpay
When
all
it
the way.
comes to deciding which host is good for me to get started with a website, what do we need to know about the different kinds of WordPress hosting?
Sure. Um, it's not always true that you get what you pay for, but maybe you could say it's roughly true, right? And it kind of makes sense. I mean, $3 a month is very, very cheap, but you know what you paid for your laptop, and servers are more expensive than that, right? So $3 a month, they couldn't just put two customers on there and make money, right? So
Yeah.
and again, there's a phone number you can call and tickets you can open if you have questions, and that costs money because there's a human on the other end of that, right? So there's a sort of you can sort of just do the math, and there's this sort of minimum, or you could actually say maximum level of service you could possibly get from a company, depending on the price, just because otherwise they could never make money there, right? So if you're paying $3 a month, again, you're going to share a physical server with thousands of other customers because you have to make money.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get a lot of attention on the phone or on tickets and so on, and when you call because they can't, right? They would lose money if they talk to you for a couple hours. They would lose money for a year on you, right?
Yeah.
So it's okay. It's just the trade-off, right? That's not a. I'm not actually using that as a pejorative. It's just math, right? So on the other hand, it's not necessarily true that you spend tons of money and then get tons of value. Maybe not, right? But certainly, if you're not spending a lot of money, there's a limit to how fast can the site be, how much traffic can it take, because how much of that server can they allocate to you, and same thing for service. So they're the shared hosting companies, as they're called. So these are big names that you might have heard of, like GoDaddy, and Bluehost, DreamHost, HostGator. So these are companies that have many, many customers. They're very, very cheap. They pretty much all have the same features, literally, like they often even use the same screens to help you manage
Yeah.
your site. It's literally the same software. So they're very much identical, which is actually part of why the prices are low. Because when you have a bunch of services all identical, really the only thing you have to compete on is price. And so that's good for consumers in the sense that the price goes very low. It also means, they're so it, but again, low prices means they can't afford to do very much in terms of hosting or human service. So they're all very similar and all very cost effective, and that's good. Um, what I like to say is at some point, well, and many people maybe never get to this point, and that's fine. But at some point, you may get to a point where you really care whether your site's fast or slow, or you care if it stays up, if you get traffic. You care that it not be hacked. You care what happens when you call. And again, when you get started, you may not, and that's a perfectly fine choice. But at some point, you do care, and at that point, saving $20 a month by paying 5 instead of 25 is not a great trade-off anymore. And things you earn over time. You don't get it instantly. Trust, respect, these kind of things are things you earn. So earning something over time means you need to capture someone's attention and keep it over time. That's a whole different thing. So now the idea is you need content, you need to express what it is that's interesting. You want people to, and of course, blogging is a really obvious way to have a set of content. WordPress has things like categories and tags. A lot of people don't use it at all, but it can be very, very helpful in several ways. So what this means is basically saying what the topics are in an article. So you write an article about something and you might say, at a very high level, like this talk, you'd say, what are the categories or tags for this talk? And you'd say, well, it's WordPress, it's hosting, it's beginner, it's getting started, it's A/B testing, and you could think of a couple things. You don't have to go crazy, but like you might think of like 5 things that are relevant, right? When you do that over 100, 200, 300 pieces of content even, you start getting in WordPress automatically, you get these screens, your website / A/B testing, your website / getting started, and so on. These are very powerful because, for example, SEO. So these are all things about WordPress and getting started. So actually, you could rank higher in SEO by promoting not one post, but a set of posts about that. That's an interesting thing a lot of people don't do.